time for the Grace and Inspiration Podcast with Dan Nzinga.
Welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. It is time for the Grace and Inspiration Podcast. You're here for a great show. Here for a great conversation that we're going to have. I have three very, very special people to me. I feel honored that they're even here, and I feel very grateful and lucky that I was able to get these guys together in the same room. So this is going to be a very great call. For the people that are new, I want to just always touch base on what is the Grace and Inspiration Podcast. Why is it named that way? So grace for me is an important word that has many meanings. So grace is when you get something unmerited, if you look that up. So God gives us grace, where maybe you did something wrong and where there should be punishment, but instead you're given love. And that is grace. So I call the show Grace because I feel like this hour, I want you to feel that you're getting something extra. You're getting something more from these people, these great coaches that are here with us because they're giving up their time that people pay them for, and they're giving us an extra, unmerited, extra stuff. This is like the icing, the cream on top of the of your coffee that you didn't pay for, or that you didn't get, and you're getting that. So I want that, that feeling of grace, that we're giving grace. We all messed up in our lives. We all did stuff, and now we're getting messages of grace. Also, grace could mean doing something with ease, something beautiful, graceful. Somebody is a graceful ballerina. So I want that sense of like, okay, this is going to be grace, relax. At last call, somebody called me and said, man, I got a lot from the call. I was stressed out and I was really nervous, and I was about life. And then something that they said on the call, like, you know what, that's true. You know what, I have a great life. It just helped them realize some things. And I was like, okay, that's what I want people to get from the show. That's the type of grace. And they leave with say, you know what, I can live my life with grace and ease. I don't have to be stressed out. I can understand things in a different way. So that's the grace part. And the inspiration part, I have a firm belief that you can live your life in a way that inspires others. And I always encourage people to share what they're up to, share what they're doing. I met a guy on the beach the other day, and he was like, I don't want to share. He's from the United States, and he's here in Colombia, and he's like 66 or something. He's working out. He's doing his stuff. I'm like, why do you share stuff on social media? He's like, I don't do that anymore. People think I'm bragging. So I'm like, bro, you are an inspiration to people. You got to talk about what you're doing, share what you're doing, because that's, I would say, our obligation. And if somebody here, I know it's Sunday, so I kind of talk about Christianity a little bit. But if you are into, that's the number one message that Jesus said. Go and give the message, which goes to inspire people into action. We're all called to be leaders. We're all called to be inspirations for people. A light cannot be under a table. The light has to be on top of a hill. So whatever you're doing, even if you're not, leading people in a direct way, just by your lifestyle, every victory you can have 10 losses in a week and you have one victory. Share that one victory, because that might be the one inspiration somebody needs to move forward. So I hope that this call and today will be an inspiration to you. Let me get to the conversation, because I know you guys did come here just to hear me talk. I'm very excited about this, by the way. So I want to introduce our guests, who all have great things they're up to. So I'm going to each a couple minutes to just talk about what they're up to, what they're doing, invite you to their thing, and they're going to drop their information, because my goal is really that everybody in the world has access to personal growth content, personal growth community, and all of these great coaches have that. And so if I'm not your guy, they're one of your guys. They're not, I'm one. We're all in the same team. We're all trying to elevate humanity to make the world a better place. All right, so let me go ahead and introduce my guests. Jason, if you can bring them on. All right, look at these beautiful, handsome and people. Okay, so I'll go first with Catherine. Okay, so Catherine, go ahead and just introduce who you are, what you've done in your life, a couple of things. A minute and a half, not too long. Just whatever you want to say. Go ahead.
Hi there, everyone. Yes, my name is Catherine, and yes, I'm an Aussie. However, I live here in Denver, Colorado. I am a mindset, performance, and self esteem, self worth, self belief expert. I speak, coach, and train on corporate stages, colleges, and I coach athletes and performers on their mindset. And I had a very transformational experience about 35 years ago. And that was really the breaking of me was the making of me, is what I say in a nutshell. And it just set me on a whole brand new trajectory. I'm also a former professional dancer. That's why, and a state level athlete. That's why I love coaching those types of people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Go ahead, Karen, if you want to go next.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Karen Glass, known as Coach Glass. And let me see, I'm from the island of St. Lucia, but I live in Orlando, Florida. And I've been in the United States for actually over, fun fact, for over 36 years. I was actually doing the math the other day. And what I do is I'm a certified dream builder coach. And what that means is that I help my clients build their dreams and turn it into reality. And in discovering my dreams, I also found that I have a passion when it comes to helping small business owners exceed in whatever it is they want to do. In
Awesome.
addition to that, I'm an author and I'm the proud owner of a nonprofit called Operation Transform, where I help young people and teens learn entrepreneurship from an early age. And currently, we're operating in St. Lucia. And by the end of this year, we plan on being in Jamaica and Barbados. Thank you.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. This is great. All right, Sorrel, sir.
Awesome. All of your guests share something in common. We're not originally from the United States. I am from Haiti. And I too, Karen, have been in the States for over 37 years. I was just doing the math as you were saying your math. And what brings me here is my passion for being with human beings just like me. I help corporations. My company is called ExecuFit, and we bring to the party a mix of neuroscience and the science of being, meaning that if you go into any organization, what do you find? Human beings talking, right? And yet, the talking that most human beings in corporations do lead to dysfunction and an absence of performance, and dysfunction that leave the human beings in those companies not being at their best personally and professionally. So we go into companies and help leaders and teams discover the aspect of being a human being that's just normal for them. And yet that's stopping them. And we help them marry the two. In most environments, being the human being you are is frowned upon. We help companies create environments where what you bring to the party is your humanity, and that's celebrated. And through that celebration, we create the kind of amalgamation between being human and being a competent professional to bring high performance into organizations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Just one more tidbit. I've had the privilege since 2009 to take this combination of ontology and neuroscience straight back to my home country, assisting non governmental organizations as well as government institutions to help bring peace and stability to Haiti.
That's awesome. We have a great international team here, and that's what I love about transformation. There's no borders for it. You can't control it. It can go everywhere and for everyone. All right, cool. So, what I'm going to ask you guys that are here, my guests, help me unpack. Last week we spoke about the difference between transformational learning and informational learning. And we touched base on that, but we didn't go deep enough for me. I kind of wanted to go a little bit deeper, a little unpack it a little bit on why it's important, or if one is more important than the other, or the stuff like that. So I had a couple of things I wrote in my notes, and I kind of wanted to like maybe see how what you feel about it. And there's no really restriction. You guys just talk and say there's no order really. It's just if you feel like you want to say something, just go ahead and say something. and this is a way, for people to get to know you as well, and just to get something from you. That somebody getting a nugget, they're gonna leave it like, oh, I got that nugget. And people say, I want to write that down. And I know somebody on the last call who took some notes. He's like, oh, this is good stuff. So this is what I know. I know I'm in the presence of great minds. This is like walking into the mind of God. You do all these great things. So this is how I feel right now. Kind of like I'm on the edge of a bridge about to do bungee jumping or something. You're really excited because I'm about to hear some really good stuff. So, all right, cool. So the first thing I want to, guys, help me unpack here. Difference between transformational and informational. And we kind of established that transformational learning is going deeper and really change your belief. Just information alone isn't going to make a big difference. I got that fitting new information with information that you already have can be can be a conflict because what you already have might not be true. So I have it that transformational almost me. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. Kind of like forgetting what you know or suspending the belief of what you know to be coachable, to listen to what other people have. If you guys have like real life examples of that or what that means, because people are like listening who probably never took landmark or transformational stuff, or like, what is he talking about? Why do I have to suspend what I believe? And is that even possible? And my one example I will give before I let you guys talk is that we do that all the time. When we watch a movie, we know that they're actors. We know Denzel Washington's not really in danger, but we suspend belief that we know that so we can experience the stress or the suspense, the happiness, the joy. So we do that anyways. And is there a way to bring that into the world of when I'm coaching somebody? Just pretend you don't know anything, and you can get that later, and so that we can go on. So guys, help me unpack, whoever wants to go first, about this concept of like either suspending your belief or you don't know what you don't know or whatever. Like, help me develop that more for the audience. Who wants to go first?
I'll take the opportunity to kick us off, right? And I want to offer the opportunity to make a very clear distinction between informational learning and transformational learning. Sometimes when we talk about it like that, I think people tend to go into the space where they make one better than the other, or they discount one in favor of the other. Well, tell you what, I work with corporate America and I work with business owners. There is some information you better know to run your business. If you're flying an airplane, well, you better have gone through that school. You better have taken those tests and you better have been certified, or else I won't feel as safe to fly on the plane. So there is informational learning that is essential to getting what you're up to getting done. And then in the space where you have all the informational learning, you have all the certification, you have all the degrees, you have everything, and yet you're being ineffective. There is some transformational learning missing that could make a difference. And that transformational learning has nothing to do with what you know, but it has all to do with what you believe you know. And it's what, in my experience, very competent people in business, in relationships, in corporate America, and corporate anywhere, they take what they know and lean on it. It's good stuff. And yet they translate the knowledge they have about objective things to what they believe they know about people, which is in the realm of the subjective realm of their relationships. So while informational learning helps you do what you do well, transformational learning helps you deal with the relationships that make extraordinary results possible. So I wanted to make that distinction first. I don't want to diss informational learning, and I don't want to elevate transformational learning. I think they're on par, and one supports the other.
Got it.
Yeah.
No, no, that's deep. I'm gonna let somebody else go. But what image that came to my head? You said the plane. Yeah, I know how to fly a plane. I got the information, but I'm showing up to fly the plane very upset, very angry, or showing up late. So I might not be very effective at flying the plane, like you said, just because my being and my belief. If I don't believe I can, or if I'm drunk, there's so much things that can impact the idea that what you know is makes little difference. I know how to quit smoking. I know how to get in shape. I know how to treat my wife good. I know all these things, but it makes little difference if I'm not actually doing it. So who else was it? Karen or Catherine? Jump in here.
I
I,
I
sorry.
can then go ahead, Catherine, if you'd like to go.
Okay. So I think first of all, I think Maslow's theory of competence comes really plays in here. It's like, it's the four steps going up. And the first one is we are unconscious about our incompetence. We don't even know what we're incompetent about. Then we become consciously aware that we're incompetent and we go, oh, okay, feeding into what Sorel's saying, I need to learn some things because I did not know this. Then we become consciously competent. We've got to focus. We've got to really practice those new skills to actually, transform in some way. And then the more we do it, then it becomes unconscious competence. So I think, really understanding where we're at in any situation on that set of stairs is really, really important. And the other thing that we had a conversation about actually in Colombia, I think, Dan, was we all have a thing called a scotoma, and it's like a horse with blinkers on, and we're seeing the world with these blinkers on. And really, in order for us to grow and learn, we have to take the blinkers off. And lots of people see us differently to how we see ourselves. So we need to be open. If we're coachable, we're going to listen to what someone else is going to say. Now, we might discard it, but at least having a really clean, open slate, I think, creates a foundation for us to learn and grow.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, so I will say that they're both equally important, informational learning and transformational learning. I'll start off with that. And what I will say about it is that in the space of transformational learning, it literally has you discover something that you don't know, that you don't even know that you don't know it. That's the best way I could say it. It sounds funny, right? And of course, I know you guys can understand that because I think we share the same background as participants of Landmark Worldwide. Okay. And so I will give the example of this. And it goes into different sections because it's an opportunity when you go into the transformational realm, it's an opportunity for you to learn something new that literally you can't learn in the informational realm. That's the way that I can say it, right? So, example of flying a plane. You need to learn how to fly a plane. You learn how to fly the plane. And yes, you may come up to that plane, time for you to fly, and you're nervous and you don't know why. I know it. I spent years of school learning how to fly a plane, but why am I nervous sitting in the cockpit right now? Right? In the transformational realm, you're going to be looking at, okay, what is really at the source of that? It's what we call a blind spot that you don't even know that's there. And so I'll give an example of me and money. I think that's a conversation that many people have. It's like educated, working, have a decent job, and you're working, 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 and you're bringing in the money. But at the end of the month, or let's just say every time paycheck comes around, you're living paycheck to paycheck. Why is that? It has nothing to do with the money that you're bringing in. There's something that you don't know that's in the background. And I'll give an example of myself in that I had to do some work to really discover, okay, I'm making all this money. Why am I not saving? Why don't I have the money? And in the transformational realm is where I discovered my true relationship with money. And what that was is that when I was a little girl growing up, even though I was in a decent family, my mother and father, spent their time working. When I would want them to stay home with me, I would always hear, Mommy and Daddy has to go to work. to give you what you want.
Mm.
A 5-year-old little girl made up, I don't like money because money is keeping my parents away from me.
Mhm.
That was a big boom. That's what happens in the transformational realm. Discovering something that you don't even know that's there. And that is when I discovered that yes, my relationship with money was that I really don't like you. I really, really don't like you because you're the reason why my parents went away. And here I am, 20 something years old, making have a great career, but I wasn't saving. I wasn't really, seeing anything when it comes to my money. And it wasn't until after I made that shift from doing the transformational discovery that I change and alter my relationship with money
Mm,
and realize it was a 5-year-old girl who made that up.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so it's
yeah,
okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. I was gonna ask: is there any suggestion that maybe each of one you guys have? How can somebody start on their transformation journey? Like, what does somebody need to do to like maybe start looking at what transformation is for them or how they can do it? I suggested maybe suspending belief or something. But is there something else? I mean, that's easier said than done. What can you guys kind of offer to somebody who's listening? Like, okay, that makes sense, but how do I do it? That's what do I do? Anybody?
Yeah, I have a process in my book, actually, Become Your Number One Fan. And it's a behaviors and a beliefs audit. And they go through, this is something I did in my early personal development journey. And it uncovered things like you, Karen. It was extraordinary. It uncovered for me that if I had a fulfilling relationship, get this, I would be betraying my mother because mum and dad stayed together as business partners and best friends. So I decided that I would be betraying her if I did that. So in the behaviors and beliefs audit that I have in my book, it's what did you learn from your mother that serves you? And what did you learn from your mother that doesn't? What did you learn from your father if you spent time with your grandparents or caregivers, whoever we grew up with? Because as Karen said, we start telling ourselves stories as little children that often are not true. And so to really uncover and spend time being introspective, this is what I did after I was ready to take my own life. I became very introspective. Now, I'm not suggesting you have to be in that state to do this, but for me, I had always been out there in the world doing lots of, extroverted type things. So to take the time and to really stop and get off the treadmill, get off the little mouse on a wheel and go, wow, where did all my beliefs come from? Which ones serve me and which ones don't serve me? And I think that's a starting point.
Mm, very good. Thank you. Sorrel?
Oh, and by the way, if anyone does go to my website, they can download a free copy of this book. So,
Awesome. Later we'll put it in the comments so they can do that. Go ahead, Sorrel.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Karen. John Jew asks a question that I think gives us an opportunity to not only connect informational learning, transformational learning, but also spiritual growth. He asks, when and where does our spiritual growth fit in? Any thoughts? And one of the things I've always grappled with is that as a human being, in the language of transformation that we traffic in, there's this thing we call survival. Like, my life is always in order to something. It's in order to have more money, in order to have a better relationship, in order to make more money, get the better job, always striving for something. And in a way, growing up, I made myself very wrong for striving enough. And then when I was striving too much, I made myself wrong for striving too much. So I was always in this limbo world. And one of the things I'm discovering for myself through the experience of connecting transformation to spirituality is that maybe I was born whole, perfect, and complete, lacking nothing. And then through the course of life, I inherited a set of beliefs that told me that I was not made of God stuff. And all this transformation stuff, like finding out what I was told when I was little, is the opportunity for me to get back to who I really am. I am made of God's stuff, and I forget that all the time. So, to even attempt creating an answer to your question, John, is that uh, for me, transformation is access to spiritual growth. It gives me the opportunity to reconnect every time to what I'm really made of. I'm made up. I'm made of God's stuff, and I forget all the time. And I need people like Karen, people like Catherine, people like you, Dan, and people like you, John, to ask a question like that for me to say out loud, I am that, and I forget all the time. Please remind me. So the transformational work that we do is that continual reminder. So while I may think that the main purpose of it is to, I call it surviving on steroids. Like I really get really good at surviving. I make more money than anybody else. I get all the great relationships, right? And I get all of that. And yet, by going there and staying there, I further distance myself from the God stuff I'm made of.
Mhm.
So, John, thank you for the question. I enjoy sticking to the transformational work so I can be in the company of people who continually remind me who I really am. And each reminder is access to spiritual growth.
Wow, wow, beautiful, beautiful. Karen.
Yes. So, Dan, I'm going to go back to your question, right? And so, what I would say first begins with self, being aware that there's something there for you to discover. And Swarrell said something very great is that as a dream builder coach, what I know is that we came into human form to fulfill on something. We came into human form to fulfill our dreams. We all have a purpose. That is why we're here. And this is an opportunity for us to discover why we're here. I'm going to give another cute little story that I tell my clients is that before you came into human form, to think about you sat in a soul circle with everyone you would meet here on earth. You guys planned every single step of your life, each other, where you would meet, what you would do, how you would help each other. And just before you were born, an angel came and did. That's the reason why you have that little dip right here on your lip. And what that did, the angel did, was it wiped out your memory because now you're here to discover what you created. Okay. And I think that's the reason why I'm a dream builder coach, because I'm like, wow, let's dream. Let's see what can we dream up. What can we discover about ourselves today, right? With the people we meet while we're here. And each one of us, we have a calling. There's something in us that knows there's something more to us. There's something more to life, right? And so the self-awareness is the first step. And now it's now for you to discover for yourself what that is. Okay. Now there are many things out there, right? As to maybe you could invest in a coach. You may start your spiritual journey by meditating, connecting with source, right? Maybe you may want to try something new to discover what that is. There are many different avenues or pathways that you could discover what that is. I know for me, I came across it when I actually invested in a coach for myself. I was at a point in my life where I was divorced. I wasn't happy. Although I was in a great career, I just felt there was something more. Okay. And that is when, like I said, okay, something needs to give. And I started looking, I started searching. And that's how I got got connected with my very first coach. And so, that brings me into another conversation because many people may say, coaching is like therapy. And I say, nah, it's not. You want to think about it, you have a therapist and you have a coach. When you're working with a coach is designed to help you get to where you want to go. Yes, your path may come up. However, your coach is not looking at your path. We may use your path as a stepping stone to get you to where you need to be. It's all in discovery. And so that's what I need to say about that. Thank you.
Wow, I'm so happy that you said that because it goes straight into basically the next question of what I wanted to ask about. Because from what I heard you say, Karen, is like the difference between therapy and a coach. And I'm kind of hearing like creating something versus healing. I've heard it's kind of when I wanted to the next question. Another coach, a friend of mine, had said that there's like two purposes when you get intimate with somebody, and it's either for healing or for creation, to create something new. And he's like, that's why when you could be friends with somebody for years, and the minute you guys get intimate, then she goes crazy. Hey, this person's crazy. I didn't know this person like that because she needs healing. So all the stuff from her past is now coming up, and he's like, here, help me heal this, all this stuff that happened in my childhood. You're like, man, this woman's crazy. I'm out of here. What the guy said, or this guy got issues. He got everything. He was great friend, and all of a sudden you guys get intimate, and now he's trying to heal something, and now it's all coming out. So I wanted, so I get that the transformation can have like either one. And when Karen, you said it just perfectly, because it's like, wow, it's like she knew that I wanted to like discuss this conversation more. I want to kind of focus more on the creation part. So I kind of get like therapist is maybe more the healing, and the coach is more like, hey, I'm trying to get somewhere. The creation part, I've always liked more the creation part. Even when it comes to relationship being intimate, it's like I want to create a family, I want to create a baby, let's create this business together, let's do this stuff together. I want to do stuff more than I probably need healing as well, but I've always been more focused on let's creating something. So in this world of like creating something, because you can it's a transformation, like what are we going to create together? I have a sentence that says, and I kind of want you guys to give your opinions on this sentence, because most of our listeners might not agree or get what I'm saying. So I say, it's been said, like, your life is your conversations that you're having in your head and that you're having with other people. Like, you just focus on your conversations, then that's what gives you your life. And a lot of people are like, well, and I've said that to people like, no, no, no. I had a lot of stuff happening to me that had nothing to do with my conversation, nothing to do with what I was saying with other people. This is just life circumstances happening. How can you say that? With all the injustice happening in the world, are you saying that this is what these people are bringing on? What about when a baby gets abused? I have all this stuff that goes against this statement. So I kind of want to hear just that part. Like, your life is given to you by your conversation. And that falls into the creation thing, or maybe the healing part too. I don't know. But is it true? Do you guys agree with that? What can you guys say, that your life is given to you by the conversations you're having in your head with yourself and the conversations you're having with other people? And if you simply change those conversations, you can change your life. And a lot of people don't agree. A lot of people agree. I want to hear your guys' opinions on this point. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
I love to say to my clients, and mostly the clients I work with deal with large teams. But what I'm about to say applies to a team of two or a team of one. So I look at creation in terms of 6 levels. The first level being the relationship I have with myself. So inside of that, there's a level of responsibility that I can own, and each individual can own who want to create, right? You want to create? First, look at the relationship you have with yourself and begin to be responsible for how you speak to yourself. So, yes, Dan, how I speak to myself creates the space inside of which I can create. I'm limited by how I speak to myself. So until I can take responsibility for that, I'll have zero interest in changing that, or zero interest in listening to Catherine or Karen or Dan who tell me, hey man, what you say to yourself really matters. Say something different and you'll have a different life. They go, oh no, I've been saying this stuff for ever, and sometimes I have a good life. It's just life. But no, it's really critical. I agree with you completely, Dan. What I say to myself, what you say to yourself matters. That's one level. At a second level of responsibility, I say to people and I say to my clients, I'm responsible for my relationship with you. So you come into a relationship with me. We may have been great friends and then we get intimate, right? And then all of a sudden, the way I speak to you doesn't is no longer my responsibility. So at that level of leadership, I say to people, you are responsible for the way other people hear what you say and the impact it has on them. See, it's so easy in a relationship to label my ex, your ex, as crazy because of something she said or something he did. No, I'm responsible for how what I say to you lands on you and how what you say to me lands on me. It's this world of 100% responsibility that I think creates the space where you and I can be with a Karen, be with a Catherine, and accept the contribution that they are to create. Absent taking responsibility for what I say to myself, what I say to others, and what others say to me, there's very little space for creation. There's just the space where I am continually defending what I say and attacking others for what they say. Zero space for creation. So you want to create? Yep. Start looking really hard and deliberately at all the conversations that make up the life you live.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, it's powerful. Okay, who wants to go? And I can't wait to hear what your other guy have to say. Catherine, Karen, anybody?
Yeah, I think interested to hear your thoughts on this, Karen. But as women, the way that society has warped our sense of self has a massive impact on our self esteem and our self worth. And I totally agree with what you're saying, Sorel. It's like the conversations, how we speak to ourselves when no one else is watching. That's amazingly powerful. It's like some people put on what I call their mask, their persona. They go out in the world and they say all these things and they do all of these things, but then they come home and they're not living their truth because they're putting on an act. And I think becoming so comfortable in your skin that you can look in the mirror. I every time I go into a ladies' restroom and the women are putting a lipstick on or they're looking at their hair or whatever, and I go, wouldn't it be cool? I think I actually had this conversation with you, Dan. Wouldn't it be cool if someone created a mirror that every time a woman looked in the mirror, or a man for that matter, or whatever you decide that you would like to call yourself these days, that it goes, you're looking hot today, girlfriend, or whatever, like, because we don't get that. We get fed how we're meant to look, how we're meant to dress, how we're meant to, all of those things. So, um, it's a really interesting thing. Many moons ago, I read Louise Hay's "You Can Heal Your Life," and I could sing the song, I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I've always been the perfect me. I nothing to rearrange, etc. But I couldn't look in the mirror and say I loved myself because my inner critic would pipe up and say, "Oh, with a nose like that," all these nasty things. So for me, that's why the subtitle of my book is "How to Silence Your Inner Critic and Then Live the Life of Your Dreams." Because if we can't take control of that instead of that nasty voice controlling us, we're never going to create what we want to create in the world. So I think it all comes back to how we treat ourselves. And when I do work with people, I don't know that I can find it super quickly, but I have this really cool prop, and it's a picture of a baby's face. And I say when we were making those first few take his steps and plop down, we didn't have an inner critic saying, "Oh, you suck at this, you might as well give up now." We were pure, we were innocent. And it's about reconnecting with that innocence, I believe, just taking off all these layers that we have put on to protect ourselves.
Amen. I love it. Karen.
Yes. So I will say yes. Well, first of all, I will say this. It is definitely true. Thoughts become things. And when you think about it, I would use the example of this, and that's just how I work, by the way. Ever notice, like, for example, you may start off the day really well on a high, and then you're doing something, and then there's a thought that comes to mind, something negative, and then all of a sudden you do a complete 180 going down. It's all because of what it is you're thinking that follows with the self-talk, and that alters everything. And I know this, I'll just say this, and I won't spend much time on it. The same way you created that thought, and again, awareness is key. And another thing I say to my clients is guard your thought. Stand guard at your thought. Always be present to what you're thinking about, because that controls exactly what you think, what you say to yourself, and then it then relates to the actions you will take.
Got it.
You're having a negative thought, okay? Something happens, and then literally you just start, it's like, it's a downhill effect. And one negative thought goes to another negative thought, and then another negative thought. The thing is, if you're really self-aware that you're having something's not right, you could actually choose at that point and shift that direction to get back on track.
Mm.
Okay. So, going back to your question, yeah, what you say to yourself, your self-talk has a lot to do with what you create.
So let me. The second part of that was the conversation we're having with other people. So you all talked about the conversation we're having in our head. Got
Mhm.
it. What about the conversation we're having with other people, and
Mhm.
how does that impact our lives? Because you might have great confidence in yourself or have great thoughts, but then your conversations are, most conversations. I'm like, how can this be a great conversation? How can I turn this? And I was trying to gauge. That wasn't a great conversation. I don't feel good. And so the conversation. Let's talk a little bit about the conversation, not that inner one, but the one we're having outside in the world. How does that impact transformation or creation and your life in general?
Okay, so I'm going to touch on something Sorrel actually brought up very early on. It's who you're being. Who are you being when you go to work? For example, say
Right.
you
I'm not hearing you very well. I don't know if.
Come closer to your microphone.
can you hear me now? What happened?
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So, ever notice that so I'm going to repeat that. It's who you're being going into that conversation with someone. How are you listening to that person before you actually have that conversation with that person?
Mm.
All right. So, for example, I'm going to give another example that somebody may relate to. Every single time when I was younger, like in my teens, before my father would actually start talking to me, he would simply just say, "Did you eat? Did you eat?" That's all he would say. My self talk was, he thinks I'm fat.
Oh,
I don't know exactly how I created that, but there is something going on there with me that every single time my father would ask me, "Did you eat?" I would get charged and be like, what is he thinking I'm fat? I ate too much. So maybe I may say, no, I didn't eat. Right. And just going into that conversation with him, it's like I'd be dreading having a conversation with him because I know the very first question he's going to ask is, how are you? Did you eat? It wasn't until when I shifted exactly what conversation that was, that self-talk, it was a self-talk with myself thinking that I was fat and that I eat too much.
Mm.
So literally, I would come to the conversation with my armor on, ready to fight.
Guns blazing.
You get it? I'm ready to fight, right? Now notice when I really got to the source that I was at the effect of my thoughts and what I was thinking and saying to myself. When my father then asked me that question, and to this day he still asks me that question, did you eat? What I'm really hearing is that he's really concerned about me and he just wants the best for me. Does that make sense?
That
And,
does.
and perhaps he thought, like my daughter's all grown up, but she definitely used to get hangry. Do you
Uh-huh.
know what I mean? When
Yes.
someone's hungry, sometimes we get angry. So maybe he was, I don't know, but he might have just been coming from a space of care. And here's the thing: we hallucinate in our mind what somebody means instead of actually asking the question. What do you mean by that, Dad?
Yeah.
It's a really simple question, isn't it?
Yeah. But to tap back on, and then anybody could go on the creation part. So I guess with that example, so if you weren't, if the conversation, if you wouldn't come up with your armor up and you didn't have that, what
Hmm.
other things could have been created
Hmm.
in that space versus what it wasn't created, right? So it definitely impacts the inner conversation already. We go back, impacts the outer conversation. So, anybody, Sorrel or Catherine, you can go ahead, give a little bit of, tell us a little something on that.
Um, yeah, Karen, thank you. Catherine, thank you. And Dan, back to the question, how about the conversations we're having with other people? How does that impact creation, right? In the realm of Coach Karen is fulfilling dreams with her clients, it's all about creation, right? And then there's this big block. I mean, Coach Karen is great, yet the client's not creating anything. What's stopping them, right? So, one of the things I see a lot in corporations with groups of people, if an alien was looking at a team of people, guess what they would see? They would just see bodies moving around, opening their mouths, talking to each other. So, in our world, nothing gets done absent conversations. So, I don't care what you say about it. If you're in a conjugal relationship, a team of two, a team of 5,000, it all runs on conversations, period. So, absent the quality of the conversations, the strength of the relationships suffer. So you could conclude, and I'm inviting people to look, an organization is a system of relationships, and those relationships are governed by the talk that's happening between those relationships. So whether I'm the one looking for transformation and creation, or whether I'm the one leading a team looking for that team to create, I better get really serious about the quality of the conversations happening so that the relationships themselves can be strong. So, in the context of creating and having conversations with others, I'm sure you can relate, Dan. I can relate, and you can relate to. Did you ever say something to someone and you knew ahead of time that that something's going to trigger them, but you said it anyway? It happens all the time. It's not because we're bad human beings. It is that in the background, there's something using me that has me say before I can even think. So in our relationships, the talking that I do with you, Dan, to create is being run by what Karen pointed to earlier, which is who you already are for me and who I already am for myself in our relationship. So when I can confront that and be real about it, it's like, gosh, Dan, uh, I've really been feeling subpar and less than you are. Like, man, you're so trained and So I just can't compete. And then I come into a relationship with you trying to create from there. I'm going to get the results that are consistent with that. So this is only to point to this, that we are always creating. It doesn't matter the thought I'm thinking. All thoughts are things. So back to John's question about spiritual growth, we are always creating. And if at some point I look at what I'm creating and I don't like it, I can choose to create something else. And that goes for what I create by myself, what I create with you, what I create in a team of 10,000 people.
Mm.
We're always creating.
Man, this is such a great conversation. And I'm going to ask you guys to come back on the show so we can finish. I just only want this to be an hour, but I also want to talk about words that exist in language. Like, how do you create? I always look at words that are not in the physical world, but exist in language, kind of like, friendship. I can't ever touch a friendship or measure it, but it exists basically on relationship. And there's a lot of things like that as well, whether it be employment, the laws of countries and stuff like that, a country itself. But that's a whole deeper conversation that takes more than 5 minutes. And I would love to hear what everybody has to say. So, and I do want to save the last 10 minutes of the call. And now we're at 8 minutes, 7 minutes, so that everybody has a chance to invite people into their world. I know Karen has these great calls every morning. Just invite people to the calls. What are they? What are they going to get? Sorrel has his thing. Everybody has their thing. So I do want to, thank you guys for the grace you've given us to even be here, to share this great stuff that we're going to have, and people can rewatch later. And this is going to be for generation to generation. People can come and get these nuggets from you guys. But I want to, save some time for invite. So I'm going to invite you guys on the call again if you guys are grateful. I don't know if it's next Sunday or if it's after, whenever you guys are available. But I would love to have actually you three again, if possible, to have this conversation again, because I want to get into the world of how do you create in the role of enrollment, and what's stopping us, and the rackets. And we kind of spoke about with the rackets and the stuff that's stopping us in our heads, and just get into that conversation a little bit deeper, of the creating, because all of us, the three of you guys especially, are about creating. You're there to create something special for other people. A lot of people listening, you're like, wow, I want to learn how to do this, or I want to know how to do this. So that would be great. So I don't know if I can, if you guys would come back on the show at another time. Okay, Sharon, give me a thumbs up. Kathy, give me a thumbs up. All right, 2 thumbs up by Kara, because I would definitely love to develop this conversation deeper and further on, because there's so much good stuff. But we are short on time, and with the time, we have like 5 minutes left. Okay, we're getting 5 minutes left. So I want each of you guys just do an invitation, whether it be a minute and a half or 2 minutes. Invite people into your world, and where are they going to get into your world? How do they get it? Where are they going to get this information? When is it happening? Just whatever, as much as you want to go. Karen, go ahead and go first.
All right. So for me, hi. Oh, so Dan, before I say goodbye, and I'm not sure if I'll have the opportunity again, I just want to say thank you again for inviting me to be a part of your podcast and this conversation. It was really a great way to spend a Sunday afternoon. Okay. And so for me, what I do is every morning I have a call called Jumpstart Your Day. And it all starts with starting your day off on a high. And what that is that I believe is that when you're operating on a high, it's at the frequency of abundance and really getting you present. You have the ability to create the life of your dreams and design your life the way it's intended to be. And that's every morning, 7:30 Eastern for an hour, 7:30 to 8:30 Eastern.
Great. And how can people? I mean, I know I can drop the link into the inspiration community. If somebody's not in the inspiration community or whatever, I guess I'll put it in the comments. But how can somebody be part of that?
All right. So first things first is I would invite everyone to visit my site, embark.coachglass.com, and I'll also put it in the chat. With that, it's getting you connected to my community. and to the daily calls. You'll get an invite to join the calls. And then also, too, there's actually a dream building journal that's available to you. I'm not sure if it could be seen here.
No, I definitely
The
see it.
sharing of the screen always messes things up when you have a background. But there's a journal available for you as well, a 90-day journal designed to get you on the path of living the life of your dreams.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And all the information will be in the comments if it's not already. Okay, who wants to go next?
Okay, I will. As I mentioned before, you can actually download a free digital copy of Become Your Number One Fan, How to Silence Your Inner Critic and Live the Life of Your Dreams if you go to my website, catherineorford.com. And just spelled exactly as it is on the screen, but altogether.com. The other one that I have is specifically for athletes and performers and their coaches is called the Champions Mindset.coach. And on that one as well, there's all sorts of amazing information about what I do, whether I'm coaching an individual or a whole team, whether it's for the whole season or it's just before an event. So, and obviously I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. I think Instagram, I am Mindset Coach Catherine, and I believe I'm the same on Facebook. And I'd love to connect with anyone that would like my help.
Can you talk a little bit about your basketball for the coaches or for parents? I know you have a monthly call that you do. It's not for everybody, but can you just tap? There might be some people listening about that.
Yes, of course. So that's actually specifically for people that are playing basketball that want to reach higher levels of it. It's for the parents. It's also for the players themselves, and it's all around for the parents how to support their young people in actually really making their dream a reality, and for the young people really making sure that they're spending time developing their mindset because so many of them are spending time in the gym and on the court or wherever, whatever their chosen sport is, but they're not spending enough time on this. And, Michael Jordan told us, 90% of his success is what's between his ears. So, yeah. And that's all on the championsmindset.coach.
Okay, and those, do you have a group call once a week that's open for anybody who's interested in that?
Once a month.
Once a month, yes, once a month. Okay, all right. I'll also put the information in the chat so people can know how to get there. All right, Sorrel, you're the last one.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dan. Thank you for accompanying me, Karen and Catherine. I want to save my time to acknowledge my partners who are the hosts of the Daily Huddle. The Daily Huddle is like your daily morning conversation, Karen. We host it and stream it live to YouTube. We're a group of givers who say we exist to give people a shot in the arm and a shot in the heart. You start your day on the right foot. You never know. You may even transform the world. So I acknowledge all the co-hosts of the Daily Huddle, and I invite people to subscribe to it. It's at the Daily Huddle on YouTube. And people can also subscribe to a newsletter that I love to publish. It's called the Authentic Leadership Newsletter. I publish it on LinkedIn. That's the best space to connect to the crazy conversations I love to have and that I create for my clients. And if you need to learn more about me or even connect with me, you can go to my website. It's called execufit.com. It's spelled funny. I should change it, but it's EXE, the letter Q, FIT.com. Execufit.
Mm.
I look forward to seeing you guys again.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We are right at 1 hour of this conversation. Time just flew by. The time just really flew by. It was such a great conversation. Thank you very much. And I'll see you guys next Sunday for the Grace and Inspiration Podcast. Yeah.
Nice.
Take
Great
it away.
to meet you all.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching the Grace and Inspiration Podcast with Dan Nzinga. See you next time.